What's up, guys? Friday night, little hangout. How we doing? Going to get into a lot of stuff this evening, as well as Britt and Covey's thoughts on the teams, the honesty. I saw everything of Twitter and people going crazy. I guess there's positives and negatives to it from what people are saying, but get into that. Lane Johnson, everybody else, but appreciate you guys hanging out Friday night. How everybody's doing. Let me know where you're watching from. I'll give you a shout out, as always. And if anybody has played Super Bowl Squares before, if you're familiar with the Super Bowl Squares game, by the way, we'll see if we could get a game going. I've got a link in case we have enough interest. But let me know also in the chat. Like, would you be interested in doing it? Probably like $5 a square. If you're not familiar, I can clue you in on what the Super Bowl Squares is or the game is. But yeah, I mean, I had the last second thought. So anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out. We'll get into Jason Kelce, Kellen Moore, who Kelce believes in. Does that have a say on whether or not he's going to come back? Wide receiver 3, why that's important. Did the Eagles want Cliff Kingsbury? Got the possibility of Brandon Staley, maybe. I mean, they've been in contact with Brandon Staley about a linebacker position, so we'll see. New linebacker coach Bobby King. Free agent targets, Jalen Carter finished second in Defensive Rookie of the Year. And everything else. I mean, Super Bowl, if you guys want to talk about that, we can. But yeah, just basically all the news this past week leading up until now. Friday night hangout. Again, appreciate you guys being here on a, it's unfortunate we're not there in the Super Bowl, but still a decent amount to get into. So, let's see. I get to some of the chat here too. Cool Rains. Hi, Josh. How are you? How's the family? I appreciate it. We are doing well. Sleep has been okay. So we're taking it day by day, but blessed. Thank you. Hope you can say the same. Let's see. Jessica Freer. Hey, Josh. How's it going, Jessica? Michael St. Croix. I think I'm saying that right. If I'm not, let me know, but I view that as like LaCroix, the drink, St. Croix. Ridge King, what's up, guys? Luis Santos. Hey, Josh. How's it going, Luis? Mason, watching from Florida. There you go. Mike throwing out the Kelce emojis. I like that. Devontae, what's up, my guy? How you feeling mentally tonight? I'm all right. It's one of those where not the most exciting Super Bowl that we're looking forward to. I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, hey, can't complain. Blessed, definitely blessed. Kabichi, what's up, Josh? Hey, how's it going, man? Darth Smith Boy 11, what's up, man? Ernest from Pittsburgh, there you go. Ernie, sorry, read the name first, but Ernie. Fitness Warrior, there you go. So much news. I'm here for it. Heck yeah. Lots of news, lots to get into. Serenity. Hi, Josh. Watching from the... Oh, I missed that one. Watching from the Peach State. There you go. It's Georgia. David Ertz, what's up, Josh? Looking forward to another Friday night hanging out with my Eagles fam. That is it. That is exactly what we're doing. Hanging out with the fam. Devontae from Maryland. There you go. Well, there's the first comment on Brandon Staley. So, Rich King, I don't want Brandon Staley anywhere near the team. I'm curious why, and I'm not saying that I'm like 100% on Brandon Staley, but I am curious. Like, what are the thoughts on Brandon Staley? Why do you want him, or why would you not want him? But for those that are maybe supporting, like, why would you consider Brandon Staley for a linebacker coach? Again, he's like, I'm not saying I want him as a head coach or even a defensive coordinator. There's concerns if anybody's watched football games, watched the Chargers, his decision making. Forget whatever the whole like yoga poses and everything else. I used that in the video, and I can't remember who pointed it out first, but we had to have some fun with that. His little pregame workout that he did, and people catch it on camera. So that doesn't matter though. But there are some issues, right, with the locker room culture and the vibes of the team and everything else. But that was as a head coach. So it's not as alarming if you're a positional coach, maybe. He's got a good history of coaching some very good players at the position. Now, again, you could, I guess, make the argument, like, does the coach make the player? Does the player make the coach? Is it a combination of both? I would argue that it's some of both. But if a guy like Khalil Mack is stepping up and, voicing his support for Brandon Staley right before he got fired, I mean, I don't know, was that a PC answer? Was it legit? Still, it makes me interested. I would be for it. I'm not saying it's like the best earth-changing move ever or the biggest hire, but still, you get the experience on that side. Now, the other question, though, is does Brandon Staley want to do that? I don't know. You go all the way from a head coach position to a positional coach? Probably not. We'll see. What do y'all think? 50 Shades of Trey, what's up? Says, why does the Philly media try to put down the team and tear them apart? I mean, your guess is as good as mine, bro. Like, we all know that it happens every single week. It's just, name the topic, right? Like, it doesn't matter really what the topic is. Throw something out there, and it's going to be hated on. Like, that's just kind of the standard operating procedure that happens just about every single time. But, I guess the first one, and I could throw this up here, that comes to mind with you mentioning that. Shout out to Chase Sr. doing some double work. He's covering, obviously, the Niners, but also the Eagles. So he got Britton Covey on there for an interview. And Covey talked about, like, hey, what were the issues? What was the collapse behind? Sharing that, there's miscommunication from the coaches and players, some finger pointing player to player, letting outside voices impact the love for the game, the happiness that we had. I loved it. I mean, if you didn't see the interview, didn't watch it, I encourage you. It's on Twitter. It's also on on YouTube. I mean, Chase had it up there too. So I think it's one of those that I can't remember who said it first on Twitter or where I saw this, but it's like if they're going to complain, right, that, oh, we don't know what are the issues, right? We want to know, tell us what's going on behind the scenes. And then as soon as we hear it, then it's going to complain about the other side of why is Britton Covey speaking? There's some people saying like, hey, why is my punt returner talking about everything here? I was like, well, he was in the room and we were going to hear these, rumors or speculation and everything else anyway. So I don't know. It's odd to me, but again, I mean, like you say, it's the Philly media. It's not everyone. There are some that don't. So, I guess maybe it shouldn't be like a blanket statement, but there's a lot that's tearing them down, and it gets a little bit old. Was kind of interesting too. Carrying on with that same topic, though, you guys probably saw the other part that Lane Johnson admitted the 49ers broke the Eagles. Was on his interview there. Said dismantling the offense. Basically, the scouting, changed after that. Eagles or the Niners kind of showed the blueprint to beat the Eagles. I mean, there were concerns before the Niners game, so I don't know if it was totally on the Niners, but yeah, talking with Dan Patrick, that's one of those that I think the writing was on the wall already, but yeah, the beatdown absolutely made it easy, and then every team just kind of copied at that point. But let's see, is it Khaled? Maybe I may not say that correctly, but supporting from Tunisia. Let's go Birds! I don't think I've ever had anybody. Maybe I have. If you've mentioned, I've just missed a shout out, but I think that's the first time from Tunisia. What's the time there? I'm always interested on time zone difference, but go Birds. Bad Gamer, love the show, man. Appreciate that. Much love. From Missouri, too. There you go. Philly 416, Toronto, Canada in the house. Let's go. Ronald Blake, Portland, Oregon. I've never been to Portland, but my wife has. She really enjoyed it. I think it'd be cool to go. Shout out to you. Marlene from New Jersey. Yeah, question on the draft, what Howie's going to do. John saying I'd go cornerback, wide receiver, or right tackle first. Tracy Ann, I think Howie might go for cornerback. It's a deep class for O-line and not so much for corner. Anish is for Brandon Staley. The reason he got head coach consideration is because of his defensive success. The Chargers hired him, but was under consideration by multiple teams. Yeah, see, man, that's kind of where I'm at. He's got experience. You don't necessarily want him as your leader, but you're not hiring him for that. So he's got, I think, some good skills that he could bring to the table. It's just, is he willing to or able to swallow pride and say, I'm going to take a positional job? Again, that's maybe the ultimate question there. Trey's been defending Covey on Twitter all day. I've seen a lot of people, but it goes back and forth. I mean, there's a lot of people there. Philly Cheese, where's the video on Twitter? Let's see. Are you talking about the one on Covey? Because it's a couple different places. Here, I'll retweet it again. If I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, I'm assuming. If you do, I just retweeted it again, so you can go check it out. It's on, like, WIP had it, Chase Senior had it, several different people posted it, but I'm assuming that's the one you're talking about. I'll retweet the Lane Johnson one too, if that's the other one. Yeah. Philly416, what's up? Says, where are these emojis from? Yeah, love the emojis. Love everybody using the emojis. We had a crazy, ridiculous membership gifting session, I guess, that happened last week. So it got wild, but shout out to Fitness Warrior, Philly Cheese, and Maxwell dishing them out. But yeah, the emojis are for the members. The members are able to use those. Justin, what's up? I watch every single video you post from start to finish, brother. Glad you're making content. I appreciate that. That means a lot, especially start to finish. I appreciate it. Aaron from La Mirada. I think I said that correctly. Philip, New Orleans, but living in Billings, Montana. New Orleans was pretty cool. Hopefully it's for a good reason. I've been there, I think, twice. Ronald Blake, thanks, bro. Love your show. Maxwell, watching from Salmon, Idaho. Bro, here we... Oh, my gosh. This is again. Here we go. Philly Cheese. Start with 5. Get those memberships. My gosh. Shout out to the cheese. John, we got membership sweepstakes. Yeah, it's... There you go, man. Appreciate it. Everybody else appreciates it too. There's Tracy Ann. Maybe Staley would like a senior defensive advisor or something like that. Less awkward for him. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. The immediate speculation was like, okay, he's been outside linebacker coach for Fangio a couple times. It's a natural, maybe not a natural, but like a familiar territory for him. But yeah, if it's maybe step away, be an advisor, that's not the worst decision. I wouldn't mind that. Be able to provide a little bit more analysis, but not have to be into, I don't know what, like down on the sidelines in the spot of like, wow, okay, this dude went from head coach to positional coach, and you're seeing him there on the sidelines. That makes some sense. The run's going. There's more. Dude. Just literally, I'm probably late because I'm, going through these comments, but Maxwell now, look at that. There's 5. Get on them while you can. Cool Rains, Kavici, David Ertz. Starting out strong on a Friday night. Love it. Nate. What's up, man? I'd like to see Covey actually play wide receiver. That's okay, great point. I'm glad you brought that up. Because I was going to ask this too. So Kellen Moore's offense, we all know, is going to be more passing, be more dynamic. We'll get into Brian Johnson and the whole, Commanders and whatever. We'll get into that. But it's going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this offense is going to look like, especially for the wide receiver 3. So you bring up Covey and saying actually play wide receiver. That's an interesting possibility. I know that some people have said, hey, what about Greg Ward? If you were to bring him back, draft a wide receiver, maybe Ladd McConkey, or there's lots of them you can insert, but that's the first one that comes to mind. Or a free agent. Quez is not going to be him. Quez will not be here. I'm going to be shocked. I will. Who is it? I can't remember now. Gosh dang it. I'm sorry. I'm spacing. I bet he's probably going to watch this and be like, wow, you forgot. I bet someone during the game that Quez would have less than 180 yards. And I can't remember your name, bro. But if he sees it and Quez is still here next season, I'll buy you a jersey or whatever. Quez is not coming back. Gosh, that's going to kill me. I can't figure out who that is. But yeah, Quez is probably not going to come back. So yeah, maybe Covey. I mean, he had limited action against the Giants in the final game. I know that was, kind of garbage time, I guess, with Mariota, but I wouldn't mind it as a possibility. I mean, he's shifty. He could do well naturally with a punt return, but it would be an interesting look. I will say that's not my number one option. However, I do think Covey should get a legit, potential look there. See if he can do something from the slot. But I feel like they'll go either with someone in the draft maybe, or I don't know. Would it be shocking if they went and made like a free agent signing? Not like a big one, not spending a whole lot of money. But the way that Kellen Moore runs this offense, again, I mean, Dallas Goedert's not going to be covered up. He's going to get his touches for sure. A.J. Brown, Devontae, obviously, are going to be the number one and like 1A, 1B. But wide receiver 3 will for sure be used a whole lot more than what we saw this past season. So, I don't know. That's where I'm going with. Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. It's a good question, though. Imhav, what 3 offseason moves would you make if you were GM? It's a good question there. Offseason moves, if I'm limited to 3, the first one is I'm going to try to free up some cap space for one. So unfortunately, I know there's some supporters. I don't know that it's the majority, but Byard is gone. Sorry, but we're freeing up cap space. We're not bringing it back. We're not even restructuring. I think Byard's gone. The next one would be for me to sign a linebacker. I'm not drafting someone. I'm bringing in a dude who can go from day one, who has experience. I hope that Nakobe does well, but I'm not trusting Nakobe to be the guy. I'm fine if he's another starter. He could be number 2, but I'm going out and getting a dude. I don't know who that is necessarily. I've gone back and forth. I could see where it might make some sense of a. We've mentioned Frankie Louvu as a possibility. We've had Aziz Al-Shire. I think I've said Al-Shire. I think it's Al-Shire. But Aziz Al-Shire, Bobby King naturally being the linebacker coach, inside linebacker coach for Philly. Makes some sense. You got connection there. I don't know that Al-Shire's a perfect, again, maybe there's not a perfect answer out there, but he over pursues at times. Coverage is not great. And considering that I hope I'm wrong. I don't feel like Nakobe's ever going to be like your answer as far as a coverage linebacker. I think he's one of those you put him in there and say, hey, this dude can stop the run, but he's a little bit of a liability in the pass, even as good as maybe he gets to. And I hope he proves me wrong. Maybe he can get to that point, but he doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to be good against the pass. So with that being said, I'd go out there and try to get a guy that's going to be your answer in pass coverage and going to be there for the run. And then, and I'll pull it up here too, just to get the linebacker list. I know we've had it up quite a bit, but let me throw this up here just for some options as well as we're taking a look at it. And yeah, I guess we're going to get some pass rushing linebackers also. Not that those are necessarily in play, but I don't know. Go out there with someone that's going to make even as crazy as it would be. I know that Patrick Queen's going to be ridiculous money, so I don't think that's a possibility. But, go out and make a bigger splash, one that's not as expected of your typical, Howie Roseman move. I think that's got to be. So you cut Byard, you get a linebacker. third one in the offseason, I don't know. That's a good question for the third part that I would do. I feel like I kind of go back and forth on, it depends on obviously the cap space, but do you try to extend? Because if you extend Haason Reddick, you're going to have to pay him, but you do free up space in the short term. So maybe that's a good play. You free up some space and able to go after another free agent somewhere, whether that's a safety or a linebacker. Yeah, I don't know if the money works here, but I will say, and I think most of us know this certainly by now because we've talked about it quite a bit, but it's like Fangio needs a strong linebacker, wants a strong linebacker, and also wants and needs strong safety play. I think you can draft someone, but you've got Sidney Brown already there. Maybe there's a chance to go out and get a safety free agent too. So I might say, hey, you cut Byard, you get up some cap space, you sign a linebacker, and you extend Haason Reddick. I'm not saying like a crazy long extension, but if you 3 years, it's probably going to take, 3 years I know it's a lot, but at 3 years, 20 probably at a minimum would be my guess for what he's willing to accept, and that may be a little bit low. But you extend him. If you do that, again, it still frees up for this season $12 million in cap space. And then maybe a safety. Like what, Antoine Winfield? I know everybody would love that. Most people would. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, does he return? I don't know that I don't think he's wanting to come back to Philly. But yeah, or Xavier McKinney. I mean, that name's been thrown out quite a bit. So that's probably what I'm doing. I'm shoring up safety. I'm shoring up linebacker. As much as, I will say this, as much as because there's guys. I mean, there's dudes in the draft. And we will get into draft coverage. We'll have quite a bit of that leading up to the draft. You guys know that. But I don't know that I necessarily want to go into the draft saying, wow, we have serious significant hole at safety and we have a serious significant hole at linebacker. Like, I would prefer that we shore up at least one of those, if not both. And then you go into it saying, all right, let's take the best available. I know cap space may not work all the time with that. So you can't say for sure, but I don't know. That's where I'm at. So let me know what you guys would do. 3 offseason moves. It's a good question. All right, let's get to some of these other comments here. Again, shout out to Maxwell and the Cheese for the memberships. That's awesome. Tyrone, what's good, Josh? Through tonight. Fly, Eagles, fly. Go Birds. John, says sign Antoine Winfield, sign Smitty. That's true. Yep, Smitty, you could go ahead and extend. And then trade down for extra round draft picks and prioritize the back 7. I like that. Anish, I'm curious what Moore looks at in running back. Yeah, you guys saw, though, probably. I know I touched on it in my video, but DeAndre Swift said he would love to come back to Philly. Don't know exactly what that means. I think that, he's, here, I'll put this up here. This was the interview with the Bo Wolf and Zach Berman, but it's, at least he says it, right? I mean, it still comes down to contracts, and if it works and he's getting paid what he would like. Miles Sanders basically said the same thing. If, hey, I love Philly, I hope they love me too. And, Howie didn't or never was going to do that. But I'm curious to see what running back looks like, especially in a Kellen Moore situation, what you can do there. All right, let's get to some of these other comments here too. So, apologize, I paused for a bit whenever we were answering that 3. Anish says McKinney, so Xavier McKinney. Jordan, Bobby Wagner might come with the connection to the D-line coach. That's true. Clint Hurt. It's a possibility. I know he likes Seattle though, so I'm wondering. I mean, that's a big move. If he can hang around there. Plus, you got a really good hire, at least from the defensive side. If I'm a defensive player, I'm looking at, hey, here's my new head coach in McDonald, and that might keep him on that side. But again, it's not the worst consideration there, considering that connection. Speaking of, I should have Brandon Kane from the Hawks Nest Seahawks YouTuber. You guys may remember if you watched the pregame preview that we had before we played the Seahawks, but I posted that way back when. But Brandon's going to come on tomorrow, actually, so we'll probably do that at, I think it's 7 Eastern. But if you guys want to swing by there, it'll be probably an hour long. Just kind of take away from Clint Hurt, get to know a little bit more pros, cons, because, Brandon's been following the team and knows more insight there. So what are we getting? What can we expect? And yeah, we may throw a little other questions there, because I know Jordan Brooks is a name that we've thrown out there, but is he a potential? Would he work? Some takeaways on that side. And hey, maybe we get into Bobby Wagner. So that's another point. Ernie says, Josh, with the 3-4 being used for defense, how or where do you use Nolan Smith? That's a great question. I hope that Nolan gets used quite a bit. But I don't know. I say this like every single show and every single day, but like, you guys know, I love Nolan Smith. I really am hopeful for the dude. I still think that he has a lot of potential. There's no way that I'm saying he's a bust or anything like that, but the shoulder concern is certainly there. And it'll be interesting. Like right now, he's I'm assuming would be the next man up right behind either Haas or Sweat, and he's coming in and going to try to rush the passer. He's got to get a move, or at least a counter move, because right now it's just basically like use the bend and the speed and try to get around it, and that works sometimes, but against the best, or even like above average left tackle or right tackle, it's just so. He's good against the run, but I think that he needs some work. He needs coaching, but I think that he'll come into play. You could use him just similarly to a Haason Reddick or a Josh Sweat, but someone who can drop back into coverage, I think would be not necessarily where I would want to see him. I was hopeful that they would take him and be like, hey, we're going to teach you these moves. We're going to get you to be a dominant pass rusher. Use that speed, use that finesse, get you stronger. He could use some more strength. And maybe that's still what they do, but I'm skeptical, knowing the Fangio system and the percentages of dropping back into coverage, that he probably will be used in maybe more of that similar fashion. But who knows? Again, that could be a positive. At the end of the day, you look at how Fangio and the Dolphins used Andrew Van Ginkel, and he was dropped back 30% of the time in coverage. I don't like that. I mean, just upon hearing it or thinking about it, I don't like it. But Nolan has the athleticism. The question is, is that the right spot for him? And is Fangio going to help him out? I guess I'll hold out, ultimate judgment until we see it, but it's tough to say. Yeah, I see the talk on Bobby Wagner. Older, but yeah, experience for someone else. Yeah, Jordan says Devin White, Jordan Hicks. Maybe short term, help out the linebackers. Yeah, I like that. I think Kubici says, I think one really good linebacker, one really good safety, and then work on team needs. Future generations, stop blaming the running game on Swift. Worst design runs I've ever seen. I don't know. Was somebody blaming the run game? I might have missed a comment if someone was actually blaming the run game on Swift. I don't know that I've seen anybody saying that Swift was an issue or that there's any concern there. I'm pretty sure that just about everybody agrees with the fact that the running game was underutilized. Swift was certainly underutilized. The dude could have been, I don't know if he would have been first, but I think he probably could have been second in rushing totals if we had used him. He could have been first, I guess, if you really wanted to stick with the run, be dominant. It'll be a more efficient for sure. Now, I don't know carries wise and the total there, but it'll be more efficient if he sticks around because Kellen's usage of outside zone, it's going to put defenses in a bind. I talked about on the last show. Shout out to Shane Half. He had some really good content on Twitter as well as on YouTube, but he was just going over the differences of like rolling out and Jalen being used in those situations versus whenever it's been the constant 89% of the time in the gun. Now, will Jalen use his legs or at least use the threat of his legs? I hope so. It's kind of, I know we paid him all this money, but we paid him all this money because of like the dual threat that he provides. And if he's a threat to run the football, if he's a threat to tuck it and take off, I mean, that rollout, play action, outside zone, from under center, like those are drastic changes in this offense, but it will be a lot better for it. So I'm hopeful. It just, it's the question of even like this past season, Jalen was hurt, but like how hurt was he? And, Donovan McNabb had mentioned it. I covered it also on the show, but it's like McNabb saying, hey, what a player's not going to say a whole lot about injury, right? You can ask about it, but we're not going to get much. And we didn't get much from Hurts, but I'm curious if that was him not taking off to run as often or getting down really early, or was it the coaches or a blend of that? But you'd like to see him, I don't know, be a little bit more aggressive with his legs because he can be so dominant whenever he uses it. Now, it's being selective at times, sure, but no, the running game will for sure be better. And I don't know. I don't know that anybody's necessarily blaming Swift for that. Jay, what's up? Says, what's up, Josh? Who's the best safety you think coming out of this draft? That is a good question there. I don't know. Out of the safeties, here I'll pull it up. Cameron Kitchens is one that immediately comes to mind, but I don't know. First off, I don't know if we're actually going to draft one in the first round, but I suppose that we could. Let me try to pull that up here so everybody can take a look. Let's see. This obviously changes quite a bit as we get to the combine and everything else, but let's see here. I can probably search there. Yeah, there's Tyler Nubin, there's Cameron Kitchens, Javon Bullard I talked about recently. I feel like I'm probably in the Kitchens camp, but to be honest, the more that I mean Vaki from Utah, like the more that I look at it, it's not that I don't love the idea or say, hey, maybe we should draft someone, but in my mind, you're not getting rid or selling on the fact that like Sidney Brown could be or maybe one of your guys down the road, even possibly this year, like with the ACL injury. Who knows how long it's going to take him to recover? But that's what makes me just kind of, I guess, hesitate at drafting any safety that high. And that may be crazy because sure, if you get someone that falls to you, it take them. Like I'm not going to hate it if that happens, but I just feel like if you have the opportunity to possibly sign someone, like we were looking at the list before, of an Antoine Winfield, or at least someone who can be kind of that presence. I know it didn't work out with Kevin Byard, so you could do a case in point on maybe it's not the most beneficial, especially if you're going to pay a lot of money in that situation. But I kind of like get someone who has that veteran presence, but they can still play. Maybe Byard proves us wrong and goes to a different team and still has it, but whether you believe in Reed Blankenship or whether you don't, Reed is still very raw. I mean, he's young. He's got some potential. Maybe he ends up being a longer-term option. Maybe he doesn't. Sidney Brown, similarly, though, I mean, he's young. He's He's raw, he's crazy athletic, and he's incredibly physical, but he still needs kind of that mentor, that presence. So that's where I'd say, you don't necessarily need a dude who's over 30, but just get a vet, someone who's been there and done that for a couple seasons and been productive and can kind of teach the younger guys, or at least kind of help them to groom in their career and grow up. So, I don't know. That's where I'm kind of like, honestly, I'm leaning towards, if we do get a safety, it might be one of the more mid-tier, mid-round safety pickups that you draft. And, then you go about it with the free agency. At least that would be my preference. I don't know if Howie goes out there and tries to make a big signing, but that's where I would at least lean towards. Devin Smith, hear me out. Bring back Braden Mann. I think they will. I don't know why you wouldn't. Like, there's no reason to mess around with the punter, and he did a good job. It was a little shaky for like the first 2 weeks, and then he figured it out. Yeah, surely we will. Philip J. watched a breakdown of Fangio's defense, and I think it'll work for us. It's not all soft coverage like most of us believe. Yeah, totally agree. There's it is a, it's still a Fangio scheme, but there are elements of it that's not 100% soft coverage. So yeah, it's not a, like, whenever I look at it, and I'm pretty sure we probably watched the same breakdown, I'm assuming. It's not your, I don't know, it's not your Sean Desai or even Patricia kind of trying to run a version of Desai's defense. It's more than that. But I mean, that's kind of what we expect, right? You get Fangio to run the Fangio scheme versus someone else who's trying to mimic it. Yeah, I still, I mean, I prefer someone who's going to, I guess, take it to the offense. But yeah, the ultimate, it's going to be better. But again, that's what I say every single show. That's what we say in the comments. Like, hey, how could it get any worse? But like, seriously, this time it will be better. And it's promising. You've got Fangio, you've got your guy. There's lots of experience on this coaching staff, so that's the positivity there. Let's see. Got a super chat here. 50 Shades of Trey, appreciate the 2, says, Kitchens is a baller. Have you watched any tape yet? Absolutely. I agree that he is a baller. I've watched a little bit. Not gonna lie. I've not watched a ton. I've covered the Senior Bowl, and I watched a little bit of breakdown from kind of the sleepers and some potentials after the Senior Bowl, but I've not got into the full bore, like, tape on everyone yet. So, but I have seen Kitchens enough that I'm not disagreeing. He's a baller. He's an option. There are some good safeties. I don't know. I feel like it's, like I say, there's potentials for like that second safety, to where, do you draft someone and say, hey, we're gonna have this rookie be the guy? I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe Fangio wants that, or is okay with that. He can live with it. But to me, it seems like Fangio is either going to be telling Howie or requesting of Howie, like, go get me a dude who can run this system, who can be familiar and confident in it, and then I'm not going to have to, teach a rookie. Not that Kitchen couldn't learn it, but, teach a rookie, get him up to the NFL speed, and then also learn the Fangio scheme. I don't know. But yes, I'm not disagreeing. There's tons of potential with that dude. It just, I don't know. I feel like there's lots of, or there's at least a reason, like I say, for maybe going after a free agent on that side. But hey, there's, like Philip says here, I know I've seen this take from a couple, so it's not the only one. I don't know that I'm there, but says, I think Byard would have been great if we didn't have so many coaching issues defensively. I think we should keep him. I don't know. He's the whole defense looked lost. There's hardly any positivity, I guess, that you could point. Certainly when we had the changes and moving things around. So I get it. There might be some reasoning on that. Yeah, I can at least understand the logic. I'll just say that maybe I'm not buying it personally. I still would just say for the cost or what you'd save, even if you were to restructure, just to move on and get somebody else. But I can't totally knock that. Ernie says, "Here's my draft: first round corner, second offensive tackle, second linebacker, third running back. After that, best available." All right. Wouldn't hate that. Let's see. Kabichi says, "If I'm going to sign Saquon, I'd rather bring King Henry over or just keep Swift." Yeah, we talked about that. Thomas and I were on Wednesday, but it I, I'm I just wonder how much you can plan on or believe that Saquon has left in his legs there. Maybe there's something, but I'm with you. If you're going to go with somebody over that, it's take Henry or I don't know how much DeAndre Swift commands, but it feels like even with the injuries and everything else, Barkley's still probably more expensive. So if you're going to pay money, I'd rather save a little bit and probably keep Swift for that amount. Let's see here. Nighthawk, how much cap do the Eagles have? It's a good question. Let's see here. I think obviously lots of changes coming up, but I think it was, I don't know, was it like 18? I could be wrong. Let me pull up over the cap and then I'll share the screen here. Okay, here we go. So again, I mean, lots of things changing, but looks like over the cap has team cap space 20, a little over 20 for cap space right now. Granted, that's, again, you look at some of the contracts here, look at some of the possibilities that you could do or kind of help with stuff. If you've got Kevin Byard and you cut him, like we were talking about, I mean, there's $13 million in cap savings. The extension of Haason Reddick that we were talking about, I mean, that can save quite a bit of money if you were to extend him, kind of backload the contract, pay him in bonuses. I think it was 12 million, I believe, is what that saved. So I mean, there's 12 there, 13 million here. You save 7 if you cut Avonte Maddox, and as sad as maybe that would make some of us, you're going to get some more money back there. So another 7. I mean, what is that at this point? That's 13 plus 12 is 25. 7 more is 32, and then if you were to extend, I think you could extend either Jordan Mailata or Josh Sweat or even both, but it's like $2.5 million on each of them that you save. So yeah, I mean, overall there's a way to save and get about another 35 million or maybe more, but about like 35 million. So this number, I think realistically you could be looking at about 55. Don't quote me. I'm not an expert in the cap, but just based on what I was reading through some of the articles earlier, and then you take a look at the estimated cap space there. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, 55. for sure, you got to make some moves and you got to get some positions shored up. But and then if I guess if Kelce comes back. Yeah, I guess if he comes back or he doesn't, depending on that, dictates maybe a little bit of the cap hit on that side. But yeah, you'd have some room for sure. Obi-Wan Kenobi, I like that name there. Have you heard the rumors regarding quarterback Spencer Rattler? And if yes, what is your opinion regarding him? I've heard some. I don't know if it's the exact same rumors that you're referencing. I think it is, unless there's maybe more that I haven't heard. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles met with him. They met with a ton of people at the Senior Bowl, so there's a ridiculous amount of names that are going to come from that. And here, I'll pull up the meeting tracker so we can have that to reference. But while I do that, yeah, it's tons of guys that you're going to meet with from the Senior Bowl. Sometimes it means something and sometimes it doesn't. Here's the thing though, with and this is, again, you guys know this, but outside the birds, Anthony DeBona had him on several times. We'll have him on again soon. Meeting tracker, best one that I've found, and it even has the key to figure out what the meeting was, if it was a formal meeting at one of the All-Star games, pro day interest, whatever. So this can really help. So far, I mean, you take a look at the list of offense and defense, we're really just talking about All-Star games. And every team has the ability to meet with these players at these All-Star games. So, it's meaningful that they're meeting with these guys. But, I think you wait a little bit until you get these top 30. I mean, the top 30 visits, I think we all realize that. But the top 30 visits really mean a lot. So you start using those on players. Okay, now we're talking. Or even, the formal meeting at the combine. Starting to go to some pro days maybe. So I'll be curious to see. But yes, to your point, I mean, Spencer Rattler is a quarterback that they've met with. They also met with Sam Hartman, John Reese Plumlee, Davius Richard. There's a lot of look at quarterback. And, hey, do we need another quarterback potentially? Because who knows? Is Mariota coming back? I don't know. Tanner McKee could be QB2, so you want some competition. Sure, that's fine. I'm all for competition. I don't know though. It depends on where Spencer Rattler will fall. I don't know, quite honestly, what the predictions. I haven't looked at it closely enough to even have a clue. But I don't really want to spend a whole lot of capital. I know that yes, you're always looking for the future and QB factory and Howie still values some of that with the potential or looking long term. So yeah, they might get a guy if they really like him. Rattler is familiar with Jalen Hurts. He played with him or was on the roster for Oklahoma for one season. He talked about how, Hurts has been kind of an unsung mentor, I guess. Like, Hurts' work ethic and like just the way that he goes about his day every single day, being a leader and all that, like taught him a bunch. So maybe, early in his career, like I went to Baylor, so I followed Spencer Rattler a decent amount. And just covering the team. It didn't have the best reputation, maybe, just for the locker room or the leadership or the lack of leadership, however you view it. But yeah, apparently it got better. South Carolina different. So I'm not totally opposed to it. I think there's a lot of like similarities even as well. If you were to bring him in here, hey, can he do things that Jalen can do? Sure. Tanner McKee is the exact opposite. So I think that like if you were like me, I was kind of surprised whenever we took Tanner McKee because I'm going, wait a second, that's not. I mean, he's not the standard quarterback like we have here. But hey, he played pretty good in the preseason. Obviously, won out that third spot. But yeah, like I don't know. It's one of those that. I guess it wouldn't totally shock me, but quarterback is one of those positions where it's not obviously it's not a huge need. Jalen's the guy; he just got the contract and everything else. personally, there's probably other QB options out there. I haven't taken a look at a lot of these film and everything else, but if you're gonna go with a guy, basically, I'm just saying like I wouldn't love it, but I wouldn't hate it. So for what that's worth, at least Jalen knows him, so you could probably ask too. That'd be a good insight. How does Jalen feel about Spencer? Even though it was several years ago, obviously, but he could give probably more of an insight on Spencer than anyone else, really. Yeah, Philip says cutting Maddox won't be as big of a loss. I actually have high hopes for Isaiah Rodgers. Yep, I do too. Curious to see if he'll be in the slot or if he's going to be more of the outside type of guy. That is one of my questions. But as long as it's not too much rust, that's the other part to it. Let's see. Zach said if I did the math right, it would be okay. There you go. 58,701,219. Also, not a cap, not an expert in the cap. Well, there you go. I would trust your math though more because I was just roughly estimating on that side. So 58-ish, somewhere in there. Shiloh, what's up? Said, did you hear Covey's take on the team collapse? Yep. Was talking about that here kind of at the open, but I'm fine with it. Hey, I appreciate the honesty. He's telling it like it is. Said that change needed to happen. Where that change occurred, but he's he's hopeful in this coming season. Thinks you're going to see a different team. The group's going to be battle tested, able to withstand the noise because they just experienced it this past season. But yeah, he's got high hopes. So I appreciate it. There's people that are knocking him for, wow, he's talking about the team again, or just stuff like that. But it doesn't bother me. You're being honest. You're telling what everyone saw or what there was kind of speculation, but we could basically tell. I mean, you watch the games, whether you're in person or the frustration we're seeing on TV and the post-game interviews, the leaked stories, all these other things. So I'm fine with it. What he said, there's nothing that was earth-shattering to me. I don't know if I'm alone in this, but there was nothing earth-shattering to me where I'm like, oh wow, that's shocking. That's like, I didn't know this. I couldn't have gathered that from what we saw this past season. So I'm fine with it. And he still addressed it. I mean, I felt like in a respectful way. I mean, you're not going to sugarcoat it either, but he addressed it in a respectful way of like, all right, hey, we're going to be better from this. And yes, we needed to have some change. Jazz Fusion hot take, but they don't draft a cornerback. Man, I hope you're wrong there, but maybe they don't. Stick with Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks and Slay and Bradbury. Josh Jobe. I hope that we at least go with one. Oh, look, I think we've got a troll here. We got a Cut Hurts comment. Surely no one believes that. Jordan, I just heard through the grapevine they promised Shaq a second-year contract. JK, but what if? Yeah, well, what if? We're a very unserious team if we promise Shaq a second-year contract. That didn't really work out, and poor guy, but that's not what we want to be doing. Yeah, I think this is the general consensus with everyone. This season will be better, especially defensively. Yeah, hopefully both, but I definitely think that it will. I mean, I understand, especially, this past season. Everybody got upset, tired. The blueprint was out there, like Lane Johnson said. Although at least you're not like the Cowboys. I know I talked about this, but for those that didn't see it, I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence on what was it? He went on with Stephen A. and kind of being asked like, "Hey, what was the reason for your team not being at the Super Bowl?" And I basically said we got burnt out. Now he's not throwing anybody under the bus, so maybe that's the PC answer ish. But it's a very crazy, interesting take to say you got burnt out. You ended up winning the division. You had the number 2 seed. Home field advantage. What was it, like 16 game, 17 game win streak, something like that. And get obliterated by the Packers, but yet you were burnt out. Okay. Made it through the season. Playoff football, a chance to do something big. Not enough to overcome just being exhausted, I guess, being done with it. Kind of a crazy take. Feels like just excuses, but maybe that's what they always do. Dear Patel, what's up? Love from India. Appreciate that. All the way from India. Let's go. Go Birds. Obi-Wan. If I see Bradbury in an Eagles shirt, they're going to lose. Yep, going to lose it. It's a lot of people. Farmer J, I want to develop tandem linebackers that would work together well, like Queen and Smith from Baltimore, or back in the day, Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis. That would be very nice. I don't know how he's set in his ways. They've got a way of doing things, basically, right? Unfortunately, that's usually not valuing the linebacker enough. But I agree. Even look at the linebackers for the Niners today. You know, you got Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. Something to be said. I know it costs a decent amount, especially if you were to go do free agent. But if you could develop them, then yeah, you get some guys and groom them up to all of a sudden you've got a dominant force at linebacker. It would be exciting to see. Would love it because it would feel reminiscent of the Eagles of old, you know, Jeremiah Trotter. But I don't know. I don't know if what it's going to take for Howie to spin there. Got a super chat here. Uriel Campuzano, I think. I'm sorry if I didn't say that, but appreciate the 5. Says, have you heard of running back Bucky Irving out of Oregon? Dude's electric, very shifty, agile, and runs hard. Reminds me of Jahmyr Gibbs. Could get him in the 3rd. All right. Not really. No, I'm gonna be honest. I have not. So I watched Oregon play. So if he's there, I've probably seen him. But he goes by. But okay, I was gonna say Marquise Irving, and he goes. Okay, yeah. I haven't looked at the film obviously, but remember watching him in what was it, the Pac-12 championship there? I don't know. You think the Birds go with a 3rd for a running back? Maybe. I guess if you move on from Swift and you're thinking, hey, Kenny Gainwell's our only other option, You might go in that direction. That'd be interesting. Yeah, the rookie contracts for running backs are always a pretty big benefit. We'll say that. I think we all know that from experience. But yeah, just the fact that you're not paying them, and then unfortunately, it's you go ahead and ship them off after that. But Hoop Beast, would you rather see Swift or Derrick Henry catching passes out of the backfield? I mean, passes for sure, DeAndre Swift. I mean, I don't mind the occasional for Derrick Henry, but DeAndre Swift, his so underutilized last season in the passing game. And imagine what they could have done with Swift. And I think that if he stays, you'll see that from Kellen more, but they just chose not to. Yeah, if we're passing it to him, I would want DeAndre Swift. Now, running the football, under the gun, taking advantage of Henry and his power, kind of a combo of him, and then, they love Kenny Gainwell, so you kind of use him in the spell back, I guess. It's not the worst combo on that side, but yeah, like passes, that one to me is a no-brainer for Swift. Chris, what's up? Breed of one, just checking in, can't stay. Appreciate you checking in. Hope you have a great Friday night and great weekend. Philly 416, would Jordan Brooks work in Philly? Not as expensive as White or Queen. Yeah, possibly. That's one that I'm curious to take a further look at it, and maybe that does feel like a Howie consideration because he's a former first rounder, and he might be able to provide some help in that space. I think you at least take a look at him. Clint Hurt has the connection too, so yeah, we'll ask about him too. We got the interview with Brandon Kane tomorrow from the Hawks Nest, so he covers the Seahawks on YouTube, Seahawks YouTuber. But yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. Yes, Stuff 23. It's a good point. We did develop a linebacker in TJ Edwards. We did. I think it was more of the comment or question of, can we develop and then keep him around, and have like the tandem linebackers. But the preference is not there for Howie. He literally didn't offer him. According to reports, didn't offer TJ Edwards. TJ wanted to stay in Philly, and if that's the truth, then you could have had him for $6.5 million. Yeah, Tracy Ann, yeah. See, the Eagles could have blamed they were burnt out with some of the level of believability. The Cowboys, not so much. Yeah, that was a tough one for me, too. Like, I'm not really sure how or what they think that you can actually believe that. Yeah, Jordan says Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner would be fire with Hurt under Fangio, with Nakobe as a rotational. I wouldn't mind that look. The challenge, though, again, comes back to, I think we have to just come to terms with Nakobe he's going to be a starter. Like, maybe there's a chance that he's not like your number one linebacker, possibly, but I don't know. I just think that Howie is so dead set on Nakobe being the guy and giving him another chance, and maybe he ends up being that way. I just don't think that he's a rotational guy. I think Howie's going into it and saying, nope, this is one of the dudes, or this is the starter number one, and we can pick somebody else other than him. But I don't know. It's hard for me to say that he's going to be rotational with this group. Isaiah, what's up? Appreciate that. Love your content, bro. Keep up the good work. Very much appreciated. Yes, agree with you, Jonathan. Quez sucks. We need another linebacker, or another wide receiver 3. He can go. I said it earlier, but I'll be shocked if Quez comes back. Yeah, stuff thinking Van Ginkel. I would like that. It makes a whole lot of sense. Fangio convinced him to stay in Miami, like we've talked about a couple times. Convinced him to come up to Philly. Maybe he does it. Ridge King, appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Go Birds. Let's see here. There's other topics. I guess before I get to that, is anybody interested in a Super Bowl Squares game or contest? If people are familiar with Super Bowl Squares, if you played it, great. I mentioned it at the start, but I've got a link to it if people do want to sign up. But if not, all good. There needs to be like significant-ish interest, and then I can send out the link to people. But for anybody that's played Super Bowl Squares, I'm thinking like $5 a square, maybe. If you don't have a clue like what it might look like, this is the virtual Super Bowl Squares thing that I put together. And yeah, that's it. There's gonna see if there's enough interest too, because I've usually done it every Super Bowl with either friends or family or something. But then I was like, hey, it'd be cool to maybe see if there's enough interest in the community to get a virtual one going. But basically, I mean, you pay $5 a square, and then you're able to pick any open spot. And then after these are all totally filled, there's a randomizer that'll pop up numbers 1 through 9, or I guess 0 through 9. And it'll do it on 0 through 9 on the top, 0 through 9 on the bottom, and then figure out who wins essentially. It's Super Bowl Squares, but it's based on quarters. So that's a very, very basic way to describe it. But initially, I'm just curious if there's enough people that have, for one, played it and or would be interested in Super Bowl Squares. And then I can send out the link to people if they are. All right, just wanted to throw that out there because, again, I do it every year. But let's see here. Philly Eagles. Yes, I think I saw this coming, but I said this is in one of your videos. I think this will be similar to the 2022 season. I hope so. I really do. Obviously, different end result, but yeah, hopefully we got the similarities from what we experienced. And the guys just having fun out there, like a difference of what we saw this past season, because it was not fun in any way, to be honest. I mean, maybe very briefly, but even like when we were winning, it just felt so forced and so difficult and not a lot of fun from the guys. Let's see. Ernie, appreciate it. Love your shirt. Can we buy them somewhere? Yes. They are on, or I should say it is on Fanatics. Yes, here it is. Yeah, I just found it on Fanatics. So got that one. Oh, it looks like they're okay. Maybe, I don't know. It says 1 left, 3 left on large, 4 left. There's not a lot, it appears. but there's a few. So I'll put this in the comments, I guess, the link. I think that'll come through, but yeah, link in the live chat. So if you do want it, but yeah, that's where I got it. I just got it off of Fanatics. Usually for all the Philly gear, I'll like go through, and then whenever they have a deal on something, you know, or like there's like weekly deals and like deal of the day and stuff. Sometimes it's like too much because I buy stuff I probably shouldn't. I've already got a lot, but yeah, I think this was one of those just randomly I think it was probably, 3 months ago maybe at this point, but it just popped up and was like, hey, here's deal of the day. So Hoop Beast, I appreciate that. I don't know the workings of Radio Row, but you and Thomas should think about doing it when the opportunity presents itself. Appreciate the support. Yeah. I mean, usually you got to get the credentials, and then also that typically comes with like being, I don't know, a variety of either well known enough or represented by someone. I don't know 100% either on the Radio Row, but just previously having worked a little bit in the media and covered sporting events and things like that. I haven't done a Super Bowl, but done bowl games and things like that. Usually you have to have enough sponsorship, but Thomas and I texted this back and forth. We're like, man, that would be awesome. It'd be great as we're seeing the interviews and stuff. So who knows? One of these days, maybe it would be a blast. I would love that. All the interviews and getting to meet the different players and stuff, but we'll see. Andre, I have to go in 3 hours. Well, we'll be. I'm not going for another 3, so hey, just I guess hang out. Appreciate that. Yeah, John says, have you seen Zach Cunningham's tape? Because Howie of Roseman apparently has, and it's great. Yeah, do we believe that? I mean, I've seen enough to say it's not great. It was acceptable-ish. I mean, he was your best linebacker, but that's not saying a whole lot. Howie's pretty high on him. The fact that you also signed or hired Bobby King, who was Zach Cunningham's linebacker coach for 4 years in Houston and then also another year in Tennessee, it leads me to believe Zach Cunningham's probably coming back. So hopefully it's not, coming back in the answer of saying, or Howie's way of being like, oh yeah, Nakobe and Zach Cunningham are answers. Like those are going to be our guys. If it's hey, Zach Cunningham's coming back because he's just one potential, then sure, like I'm fine with that. But not an answer as the guy. Andrew, yes. Let's see. Got into it with another Andrew Dzeko on Twitter. He thinks Covey's the answer at wide receiver 3. I believe it's a draft, especially with this wide receiver class. Noah Brown had 43 catches for 533 yards in 2022. Yeah. Talked about that a second ago. Asked the question of if Covey was wide receiver 3. I think that, he should get a look, but in terms of what Kellen Moore tries to do on this offense, I think wide receiver 3 is a lot more important than it has been. So, and like Andrew said, I don't believe Covey has that kind of production. I don't think he does either. Still think he'll get a look. But yeah, if there's a potential to draft or even maybe a smaller free agent signing perhaps. But yeah, it needs to be better than a Quez production or a Julio Jones or whatever. Like you got to have a more legit wide receiver 3. Frank from Philly, what's up? You're not too late. We can go for an hour, but we're just hanging out. Philly Eagles. Sorry, Josh. After we lost the Bucks, I had to unsubscribe to every Eagles podcast I subscribed to, including you. Oh man, it's hey, all good, all good. That's I get there was lots of emotions coming from that. Mine was so strange because it was like upset. It's just a game, right? At the end of the day, it's just a game. But I understand there's lots of emotions, especially in the heat of the moment. But mine was like we lost, really really upset, really defeated, and then had baby number two. Like I don't know what that was. That was like 3 hours after the game, something 4 hours after the game. So yeah, talk about a roller coaster of emotions. It was great though. It was such a blessing. So maybe that was great timing for that. Yeah, Frank, that link in the comments, people may have already answered you now, but just for the shirt. Oh yeah, he said okay, he saw it. Yeah, for the shirt. Let's see. Tracy says it was nice seeing Jalen actually smiling and having fun at the Pro Bowl. Yes, that was great. I think that was great for all of us, not just for Jalen, but yeah, for just the fact that hey, Jalen can have a good time and he can, enjoy himself and compete. But it's obviously it's a lot more relaxed, like we know that for the Pro Bowl. But still, there was way too much of just the body language not being there, whether it was not having fun at all or just very limited fun. So I agree. Seeing Jason with the what was it, that offensive line competition where he's on the whatever it was, he's just kind of like pulling and trying to help move the guys quicker. That was really fun. But yes, Philly Eagles, you were back. I see that. Yes, I know. Appreciate it. Appreciate you coming back. Let's see here. Chester Wysinski. I think I said that correctly. Hopefully I did. If things don't work out well with the team, who more on the hot seat, Nick or Howie? I think it'll be it's Nick in my mind, without a doubt. I think Nick's was on the hot seat naturally. He had to make these changes. You see all the changes he had to do. He was essentially given an ultimatum. Like, he had to fire some people, go after some different coaches, provide Jeffrey Lurie with a plan that gave him confidence. Um, sure, Howie's missed some picks, but he's also hit on some. Um, so does Howie need to make some changes? Yeah. Did he miss on free agency, decisions last season? Sure. Yeah, he did. But even the misses that he had, this team still had enough talent. I mean, I think we all know that, or I think most of us would admit it. Like, this team had enough talent. You for sure should have won one playoff game, but you really should have won, at least enough to get the home field advantage, win one playoff game, be in the NFC Championship game. Who knows what happens there, but just present something, have a much better showing. And again, we all saw for the number of reasons, like Britton Covey talked about, the issues in the locker room, Lane Johnson, and saying that the Niners broke them, basically had the blueprint and gave it to the rest of the league. So, yeah, Nick to me is without question the one on the hot seat. And Jazz says Howie's bulletproof. He's pretty close. I mean, he's in with Jeffrey quite a bit. So oh, Kabichi says mine was worse because I live in Tampa. That's right. I forgot about that. So imagine always have Philly something on. Not the best way there. That's for sure. Let me get to the super chat here. 50 Shades of Trey. Appreciate it, man. Another 5. Let's see. He says, I don't know if he wants to or if he would, or if we do, but Oz answered every time we went to him, just didn't get the volume. That's true. That's a good point. I mean, Alameda was very seldom used, to your point there. He did not get, what was let me pull up the official number. I know it wasn't a lot, but I don't know it off the top of my head. Let's see. What was the official total of stats for this past season? Okay, without looking, if anybody has, then maybe don't answer it. But I'm just curious because this is where I'm at. Without looking, how many catches did Oz have last year? For people that have not looked, because I just pulled it up and I knew it was not a lot, but I'm just curious what you would go with. Let's see. 17 from Joke Sauce, 5 from Alexander, 25 from Kubici, 9 from Nate, Jordan with 22, Tracy Ann 8, Vigilant Tracker 4, Uriel 10, 50 Shades of Trey probably like 10. Okay, well you guys the 10, and this is just for fun. There's not a prize I suppose, but it's 10. So those of you that said 10, congratulations. There it is. There's Olamide Zacchaeus. Year totals, not a lot. 10 receptions, 20 targets. He had 2 really big touchdowns, obviously, in the Buffalo game and the Tampa game. That is amazing. I don't know, just off the top of my head, I know he didn't get used much, but I felt like it would be, I probably would have said somewhere closer to like 17, maybe 17 catches. But yeah, you might look at him, consider him as a possibility. He did stuff beforehand. I don't know. Yeah, Alexander said that was all that I could think of. It's hard to think of very many catches for Oz, that's for sure. He was, if they didn't play him though over, and maybe this is just a Sirianni thing, which perhaps that changes, but if they didn't play him over Quez, that's the only part to me where I'm kind of like, I don't know, would they give him another shot? Would they bring him back and say, yeah, hey, you're going to be our wide receiver 3, or do you just look at it all together and say, nope, we're changing it up. We're getting somebody that Kellen more likes, and honestly, like, get his opinion, see who his preference would be. Philly Eagles, hey Josh, how do you feel about the situation on the Eagles coaches right now? I like it. I think it's, again, this is an easy one to say if it's going to be better. But you got Kellen Moore, like we talked about. There's so many different wrinkles that you're going to see that's going to change up, that's going to make it that much better. You're going to put more stress on Jalen, I think, because he's going to have to, any Kellen Moore system relies on the quarterback. So Jalen's going to have to take that next step. He's going to have to learn. He's going to have to grow. But I think that he can. But I like it. I like the coaches there. I like the positional coaches that you're bringing in. You've added, for the most part, more experience on positional coaches. And then defensively, for sure, if you're going to run a Fangio scheme or something similar to that, go with the guy who actually, it's named after. It's him for a reason. So I like the idea of that. And similarly with the positional coaches too. I think Christian Parker for the DBs, Joe Casper for the safeties. You got Bobby King for the inside linebacker. All those spots had guys who were coaching that did not have much experience. I mean, let's be honest. You got guys in as your linebacker coach, a DJ Elliott from Temple, who had not coached in the NFL before. DK McDonald, who only had 2 years of NFL coaching experience and only 1 year as an assistant, and then immediately promoted up to DB coach. Maybe he was fine, but I like the idea of, hey, you got guys in here who have a little bit more experience, able to coach at this level, so it's going to be better. Question is, how much? Now, the counter argument to that is Brian Johnson, and what is he? He's over to the Commanders. hired to be with Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn and the whole NFC East weirdness of coaches going from one. It's like I don't quite understand it. I mean, I like the Kellen more for us, but it is just a little bit odd, whenever you're going two teams within the same division. Like, that's just kind of strange to me. I don't know. But yeah, we get to play the Commanders and their passing game coordinator, Brian Johnson. What's the over-under total of screen passes from the Commanders? I guess they looked at it and said, "Hey man, this dude can screen you to death in a good way maybe and a bad way, but he can dial up screen passes." Maybe this is a good role for him though, honestly. Like, in all seriousness, there were a decent amount of moments where I think we looked at it and it was like, hey, if the game is scripted, the first drive or the first two drives when it is scripted, it wasn't terrible. Most of the time it was pretty good. It just felt like after that, the kind of calling plays on the fly and adjusting and doing all that live real time, I think that's where, Brian was maybe a little bit not ready for the moment or just able to adjust from that. Now, Sirianni was probably having a part to play and upstaging him sometimes, as we've heard speculation about. But I don't know. If he doesn't have to be the OC, it will be weird. It's going to be strange seeing him next season. But Elaine, how's the little one doing, Josh? I appreciate you asking. She is doing well. Sleep is better. It's slowly but surely getting better, but it's, kind of hit or miss all over the place most of the time. But appreciate the ask. $50 Shades straight. Commanders players finna run in a straight line. Yeah. John too. Cliff Kingsbury is going to throw the ball deep 90% of the time. BJ's going to develop their new QB. There it is, 50. There it is. I see 50 screen passes per game for the Commanders. You did quite a bit, that's for sure. Let's see here. Yep, Philly 416. Love defensive staff. Andrew, Josh, out of curiosity, what camera and lens do you use? That's a good question that I should know off the top of my head, but I do not. Let me see if it's going to pull up here. I think it's the EOS 7. Yeah, it's the Canon EOS 7 with the 50 mil. Oh, I'm no EOS R. Excuse me, with the 50 millimeter. Yeah, I should know that easier, but that's my wife has helped quite a bit with the camera. Not gonna lie, so she was the one that was confirming officially. But there you go. It's the EOS R with a 50 millimeter. Alexandra, you named her Charlotte, correct? Yes. Yep. Charlotte June. That's true. Tracy says, with all the hype, it really feels like the Commanders are getting everyone's leftovers for their coaches. Yeah, for the most part. I mean, kind of, yeah. They did seem really hyped to get Quinn as their head coach, although I guess that was after the Ben Johnson debacle or whatever that was. That was pretty funny. Also, the other coordinators. That's interesting. Or I did find it somewhat interesting. Covered it in the show, but you had what Alex Tanney, who goes from quarterback coach to passing game coordinator with the Colts, and Marcus Brady, who was a senior offensive, senior offensive assistant was his title, but goes now as the passing game coordinator for the Chargers. So, say what you will about our passing game, but a lot of people seem to like the resume of Eagles offensive assistants or offensive guys to be able to scheme up for a good passing game. But whatever that means, I don't know. But they had some interest. Oh, awesome. Alexander said that's my top baby girl name. Sweet. Yeah, that was a combo. It's always hard whenever you're picking baby names. I will say that. Like, so often, we're going through, like, we used the app for a while of like swiping and figuring out like which one we're gonna go with. But yeah, that one definitely felt right. So appreciate that. So, like, how do y'all? Some of y'all have cute little helmets next to your names. I'm glad that you think that they're cute. They are for the members, so members of the channel have the helmets next to their names. It's one of the many perks for the members, and they change based on how long you've been a member too. So I try to do it based on like, I don't know. I guess the history of the helmet. It's not 100% accurate. It kind of changed somewhat, but mostly the history of the helmet. So that is why some people have those, and they also have access to all the emojis. Michael Flowers, what up? What are you talking about? Kind of everything. We're just recapping Eagles news and what's going on, what's real. The latest around, I don't know, everything basically. Covey's comments talking about Kellen Moore and his offense, wide receiver 3. What does that look like? Brian Johnson to the Commanders. We've kind of gone all over the place. I don't think I brought up this one though yet. Jason Kelce was on the Greenlight Pod with Chris Long. I don't know if people saw this, but I already retweeted it, so it's out there if you want to check it out. I just did retweet, but it's interesting. I mean, Kelce, and we've talked about this for so long, right? But like every time that he says anything at all about retirement, it's like immediately give it a look, analyze it. What's he mean? What's he going to do? I don't know. I feel like initially, whenever it happened, I'm thinking, okay, he's done, and I've kind of gone back and forth. But the latest that I've seen, I'm kind of like, man, I really think that he wants to come back. Because in the interview there, and you can go check it out, but it's with Chris Long. But from the podcast segment, he basically was like, look, I look at this offense or I look at this team. They're going to be good. They've got pieces to be good. They just hired great coaches. They got Kellen Moore, Vic Fangio. Like, I'm looking at this team and the Eagles, yes, they have to make some moves, but they're going to be really good next year. And so he's like, I'm trying to not think about that in terms of what makes my decision. But at the same time, you can't help but look at that or realize, the ramifications of a good team, basically. So, it's nothing official, but I just think that the way that it ended and the bitter taste in your mouth, the fact that your brother's in the Super Bowl, getting to kind of live somewhat vicariously through Travis, like going to the games and cheering him on and everything else, I almost feel like that, just got him more motivated and more eager to, more eager to give it another run, perhaps. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. The proofs is kind of stacking up to me at this point of just what he's saying or what he continues to say of like, all right, he wants to come back. It's just figuring out, can he get the full blessing either from, his family, from the wife, or maybe it's still physical stuff. I mean, because you look at the documentary, I know that it's tough, it's challenging. He's mentioned that. So maybe there's for sure parts from all sides, but I took it as promising. I will say that. Let's see here. Oh, Michael's other comment. If Kingsbury rumors were true, thank goodness we passed the guy like Stoutland goes out on his own terms, I say. Yeah, I saw that, and some people were saying that Kingsbury was requesting or saying that Stoutland needs to leave. I think it was more so, I could be wrong, but I think it was more so Jeff Mosher and Kaplan were talking about like an example that, Kingsbury, he wanted a little bit more autonomy. He wanted more of a say. Maybe could have been Stoutland because he's the run game coordinator too. So that is a possibility. But I think they were using it more as an example that, hey, he was interviewing and what if he said something to the effect of, hey, Stoutland needs to go, whatever. And that was like a deal breaker. I don't know that it was a legit thing that happened, like specifically with Stout, but it did sound like, the official reports were that he wanted too much autonomy and they said no. Now, I don't know what that means necessarily in terms of Kellen Moore, because the reverse of that argument in my mind is like, okay, so how much percentage of offense is this going to be of Kellen Moore's? Like, I'm okay. I want Stout to have his, he needs to have authority. He needs to do what he does. I'm not changing that, but is Sirianni losing it, or is Sirianni taking over too much? Because I know that he still wants to stick around and be involved with the offense. I think it'll be all right. I am hopeful, but that's the only part from that side. I'm not saying that I preferred Cliff Kingsbury for sure. I'm definitely not saying that. I think Kellen Moore is better. But yeah, as far as the rumors of Kingsbury and did he want or request Stout to go, I don't think so. Everything that I've seen was just a hypothetical thrown out there, but not a legit. But again, who knows? Yeah, lots of people saying he's not done. Hopefully he's not done. I agree with Kelce. Jake, thoughts on home game versus Dallas being stolen from us? That's not real. That's not. I've seen speculation and rumor. That's not. There's no way they're having us play Dallas in Brazil. It'll be someone else. They're not stealing that home game. Marty says, how do you feel about being in the free agent linebacker or bringing in the free agent linebacker from Tennessee? Yeah, I talked about him a little bit ago, but Azeez Al-Shire, let's see. He also said I watched him and he was great, better than what we got. Yeah, he's without a doubt better than what we have. I like the tenacity. I like the scouting report. The scouting report was basically he's a heat-seeking missile dressed up as an NFL player or disguised an NFL player, something like that. Yeah, we need that from a lot of positions, but certainly from linebacker. We need physicality. I'm going to hit you in the mouth. Now, sometimes, again, like it has led to some over pursuit, and he's not the best. It's not the report was also like, or the scouting on that side was like, he's not a weakness necessarily in pass coverage, but it's also not a strength of his. So I don't know. You take that for what you may, but yeah, I would like it. I think that the ties between Bobby King, the new Eagles linebacker coach, he's coached him. He just coached him in Tennessee, so he's very familiar with him. I think there's a lot to like. I just, question will be, does Tennessee let him go? Or, will they try to re-sign him, try to bring him back? I know that Rand Carthen wanted him to begin with. That's why he got him from San Francisco. Rand Carthen, the Titans GM. So there's a history of the Titans and Carthen specifically really liking Al-Shire. So that's the only part that makes me wonder or think, does he just not leave Tennessee? But we'll see. There was some guy on Twitter who had a picture with him at FAU, which is where he went to school, and he asked him about Philly, and apparently, it's the only report out there, so I don't know if it's legit true, but apparently he said he wanted to come to Philly. Said he has family there. The only thing I found online was that Al-Shire's family was in Tampa, I think, or somewhere in Florida. I think it was Tampa. But maybe he does. Maybe he's got some family in Philly. He said he would love to be there because there's some family. But that's if that's true. Who knows? Andre's back. Appreciate it, Andre. Alexandra, Peyton Wilson is a top draft pick for me. There you go, linebacker. He looked promising at the Senior Bowl from what people were saying. Maybe so. Just a question of, I don't know, maybe some health concerns, or yeah, I guess, well, Jordan says it here. Injury waiting to happen. Maybe. You really never know fully, right? I mean, Nakobe was healthy. Yes, there was the knock on him like right at the draft, but he had never missed a game in high school or college. Never missed a game until all of a sudden now we're here and he's got some health issues or concerns with the foot injury. Donovan, what's up? Says Fangio last year in Miami led the league in unblocked pressures. Nolan Smith going to have a great year. I feel it. I hope so. I am definitely on the Nolan Smith train. I'm hopeful that dude breaks out, has a good year. Don't think he's a bust. Absolutely no bust from Nolan Smith, but I am curious to see how he gets utilized. But that's a good point. If anybody can scheme him to use in the right position, I'm trusting Fangio a lot more over I am like a Sean Desai or, whoever else you want to throw out there. Patricia. Yeah, Philly 416. Fangio will get the most out of Nolan Smith. I am right there with you. All right, we'll go a little bit more here. Questions, comments, get into maybe a little bit of Super Bowl talk. Not a whole lot, because again, I know we're not crazy excited about either team, but I was curious. I answered this poll here from WIP. Do you have Chiefs fatigue with them being in the Super Bowl again? Pretty close on the poll, 52 to 47, almost 48. It is kind of annoying, honestly, whenever. I mean, I guess if it was your team, I could understand where, yeah, that'd be awesome every single year, just about to be like, oh, yeah, we're going to go back to the Super Bowl, have a chance to win it. That would be fun. But yeah, when it's not your team, it just reminds me of, anytime you have a dynasty of that squad, like, okay, they're going to be there again. You just start cheering against it, honestly. I don't know. Yes, there's some Chiefs fatigue, but then also there's a 40 Winers hatred or hate. So it's kind of like in between both. I don't know. I really am at a loss of where to go at this point. Who do I root for? Or to root for anyone at all. I mean, I don't know. Because we already know the Niners. We hate them. We can't stand them. All the comments that they've made this Super Bowl run or this Super Bowl media days. If anybody hasn't seen, now let me share the screen on this side. There you go. I'm sure people have probably seen this story by now, but if not, the Niners hotel fire alarm went off. A lot of players were apparently upset. I mean, I guess I'd understand that if I was sleeping, but it was at 6, I think it was at 6 a.m. or like right after 6 a.m., something like that. So it's pretty close to, normal wake time for those guys. You get in a routine and, get something to eat, go to practice. But apparently Christian McCaffrey and Nick Bosa were the most unhappy about it. So then they start complaining and whatever, but then you start a conspiracy of Bosa said, I'm sure somebody did it. So he thinks it's intentional. Maybe it was, who knows, but and then he said, it kind of reminded me of Philly when they had this construction going on outside. It was early in the morning and they were demolishing a bridge right outside of our hotel. We haven't had the best of luck, but no excuses. Which is cool because, you can say, I guess, whatever you want to say and then just say no excuses. And it means that there's no excuses. It sounds totally like excuses to me, but, hey, if you throw it in there, I guess it's just like saying with all due respect and then saying literally whatever you want to. Oh, yeah, he also said about the Chiefs' left and right tackles that they hold a lot. So you can already feel that they're setting the stage for excuses if they were to lose. Let's see, was there one more? Oh, yeah, the field. I forgot about that. On the 49ers not being happy with practice field. Although that, according to reports and based on the measurements that they take and everything else like that, apparently it's legit that the field has not been great. But it's just kind of the common denominator, I guess, at this point of everything that they are complaining about. It kind of makes me laugh. Can I get a kick out of it? Marty, appreciate it. Said, how's your baby? Baby's doing good. Figuring out sleep, but she is healthy. Alexander says, if I had to pick the Chiefs, just because I don't want to hear the whiners say we could beat the Chiefs, unlike the Eagles, because they can't stop talking about that. That's a fair point. We live rent free in their head, but yeah, the talk that they would have after that. Jazz Fusion, KC wins 27-23. Kabici's going to root for Andy Reid. Yeah, Michael says, Niners rub me the wrong way. Me too. That is already whining. This is probably a good one. Yeah, it's honestly, what do you hate more? It's just, you don't have to like either of them, but the hate for 49ers more than the Chiefs, so that's totally fair. Joke sauce. I'm rooting for a meteor to hit the stadium. No injuries though, but I got this from Benchwarmer Brand. Yeah, that's I saw that one too. Make sure no injuries. For sure no injuries. We keep everyone safe, but yeah, if it's nobody wins and everybody just go home. Yeah, here we go. San Francisco, 49 million excusers. That's pretty good. Yeah, some of the comments here of I don't know. I very much dislike the Niners, and I would say that they're in the rival category, despite what Deebo Samuel might believe. But I don't know that it's at the level of Dallas. Seeing some of those comments there. I don't know if we could go to that's a stretch. A little bit of a stretch. Although it was funny. Debo's comment about the rivalries being close, needing to be close. Had it on the show recently, but it's literally the point differential is 0. Like since Debo's been in the league. And there's been 2 blowouts, but if you look at it, I mean, there's one game that is the most important game. That was the NFC Championship one, and we blew him out. We destroyed him. So whatever, but again, we live rent free in their head, and he's going to talk about us nonstop and whine and complain, or just try to get over it. But yeah, literally doing the math on that, it's 0 as point differential, so it doesn't get closer than that. But all right, let's see. I'll do a couple more. I'm about to jump off too. I probably got to go help my wife put the kids down. But Philly 416, appreciate it, man. Have a great weekend. Yeah, any exciting or interesting prop bets or picks or anything that people go with? I usually throw a couple. I don't know if you guys are normally into that, but it's the Super Bowl, and there's like a million different props that you can do. So some of them are fun. They get kind of crazy, obviously, with the amount that you have out there. But And is there anybody who's not watching the Super Bowl? I'm curious on that. Like I'll watch it, even though it's not the best teams in there, and hatred or not rooting for either one to win, but it's the Super Bowl. Most people are still probably going to watch it, but I'm curious if anybody's not. Yeah. Alexandra, any fan base proudly says Bang Bang Niner King is a joke. What's up, Cool Rains? Says I'm back, Josh. Okay, so joke sauce, Alexandra, not watching it. Philly Eagles, just there for Usher. Oh, okay, yeah, well, now we got people coming back. Mine is Usher. I'll watch Usher. Okay. Joke sauce, look every score. Look at the score every quarter. Zach, I don't want to. Squeak A, I'm rooting against the Chiefs. Let's see, I'm rooting against the Chiefs. I got to see Nick Wright cry on national television. It's probably worth it. Tracy Ann watching, plus there's Usher. Yep. Kubici not watching it. All right. There's a few. Marty watching just to see the Niners lose and cry, probably. Oh, there you go. Well, you got to watch it. Okay, it's understandable. Don't want to, but girlfriend is a Chiefs fan, so that's fair. Oh, Kubici, rather go with my kids somewhere fun. That's also, hey, that's a great idea. If you don't have a care or interest, it's a good point. Vigilant Tracker might not watch. $50 Shades of Trey, not that it's because I dislike the teams, but I genuinely think they're going to be both boring and I'm going to miss this year, or so I'm going to miss this year. Rooting for Uncle Trav. I do think it's going to be, to that point, I agree. I think it's going to be pretty low scoring. Kind of eyeing the under on that side, but yeah. I'll be interested to see. Like, defense shows up. I don't know. Joran, let's see. First football fan, then an Eagles fan. So Super Bowl's a must. I watch all games. All right. Let's see. Are we? Yeah, and I guess I got a couple of them earlier. But what are score predictions for people that are? I guess if you're not watching it, you could still throw out a score prediction. But who are you going with? While you're throwing that out there too, I'll look at Brew and Q. How confident are you in these new coordinator hires that we can make it back to the big game? Yeah, so I talked about the coordinators a little bit ago, but don't mind answering it too. I don't know if you could ever say you're very confident at a certain point because there's lots that you have to change or that you want to change or whatever. But I do feel like there's significant amount of confidence. I'll say that. I think Kellen Moore has proven he can coach a top 2 offense. If you take the 4 years that he was there as the OC, top 2 offense. And you've got the group that you have here with Jalen, the receiving core, the line. Even if Kelce doesn't come back, I mean, still the dominance that you have with the skill weapons. So I think offense will answer the bell. They'll be there. They'll be good. And Jalen's going to take a step. He's going to, Even if there was slight regression this past season, he's going to get better. He's going to improve. And then on defense, I mean, they'll be better, but they were terrible, so that's not saying a whole lot, but they will be better. Fangio's much better at teaching his own scheme and system and knows what he wants to do, but it's also going to be, I think, the belief coming in, like the players themselves, regardless of what actually, I guess he says. I think it's naturally you just go in as a player and you're like, hey, I trust this dude. Like, he knows what he's saying. He's got the reputation coming in. It's not a unproven, okay, hey, Desai's barely done it. I don't know. I'm not sure. Or you change voices altogether with Matt Patricia, even if you're like, well, hey, this guy kind of knows what he's doing, but it's not fully his system and it's just weird. So, yeah, the players are going to be bought in. But I think it comes down to, honestly, to me, it comes down to the players that Howie gets for Fangio's defense. Because I'm not super concerned about the offense. Like, the offense will take a step forward. They're going to be good. They're going to be solid. Defense can be. I'm not as concerned about Fangio. I just think you got to get him the players to help him run the scheme that he wants to. And that's where, to me, it's kind of a, make or break. Not that Howie's like on the hot seat, but it's like a make or break offseason for Howie. In terms of, can you get this group, can you get this defense back to, a certain level of dominance? We don't have to be led by the defense, but if he can get the players, then I'm confident. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Thomas Gray watching the Super Bowl, long time till next season, enjoying football while it lasts. That's a fair point. Yeah, once it's gone, it's gone. Cool Reigns going 25-21 Chiefs. All right, barely hitting that under, but you still got it. Kubici under 40, 20-13 Kansas City. Squeak A feels like CMC going to go crazy. Run all over the Chiefs defense? Maybe. Oh, wow. 78-0. That would be fun. It would be kind of a boring, pretty quickly, I would assume. But still, you look at it afterwards and say 78-0. How much crying and hate you'd have for the Niners. Joke Sauce, hate the Niners, wish 100-0. But realistically, 17-7 Chiefs. It's pretty low scoring. Squeak Egg is going 31-16 Niners. Andrew, 37-23 Chiefs. Tracy Ann, 23-21 Chiefs. John, 27-17 Chiefs. Jordan, KC, 27-23. Philly Eagles, 35-38 Chiefs. I don't like that score. That's kind of salt in the wound there, but maybe. Are you doing that on purpose? Or do you legit believe that? 24-17 KC for Zach. There's vast majority here is Kansas City. That's interesting. There's a few. I know there's a few Niners, but vast majority is Kansas City. Oh, Tracy Ann predicting the Niners lose on a missed field goal kick. Wow. Okay, some drama late. Moody's not been good. What is he, like 60%? I think he's 60% in the playoffs. I'd have to go back and look. But he hasn't been great, so maybe so. Cool Range, Josh, your Super Bowl MVP prediction. Okay, so I'll also say, I think most people know what I picked for the Super Bowl, if you watch some of the videos or the lives, but I think it's going to be the Niners to win. I don't want it to be, but I think it's going to be Niners 24-21. And I'm going to go with, it's kind of an easy pick, I guess, but quarterbacks normally win the award. I feel like it's more often, but I'm going to say CMC. Again, I don't know what the odds are, but I'm sure that's a very easy pick if you're going to say, hey, Niners win and McCaffrey wins the MVP. But I think that's where I'm going to go. Andrew, Super Bowl post-game stream. Hey, maybe. maybe that's a good idea. Possibly we could hop on. People might be interested in that, perhaps. Just throw that out there. Okay, here you go. No, I don't believe that. 31-20 Chiefs like last time. Okay. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of jest in that. Curtis, 28-17 Niners. So there's another Niners. Haven't had too many, but CMC 3 tutties. Yeah, if he's got 3 of them. Niners are sitting pretty if he's got 3 scores. All right. I think I'm gonna hop off. I appreciate you guys hanging out, but I do need to probably go and help the wife now. It is 9:15 where I'm at, so yeah. But appreciate you guys hanging out. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe post Super Bowl stream. We'll see timing schedule wise and everything else. But if not, we'll for sure have shows next week, keeping you up to date. What's going on? Should most likely have a live show, though, tomorrow at 7 Eastern. Going to be on with the Seahawks, Brandon Kane from the Hawks Nest. So covering some more details about Clint Hurt, what to expect, maybe get into Jordan Brooks talk, if he's a possibility. Yeah, so we'll do that. Maybe an hour-ish is where I'm thinking. But yeah, we'll appreciate, again, hopping on for a Friday night stream. You guys have a great rest of the night and an awesome weekend. Hopefully, if you have some picks or bets or whatever on the Super Bowl, maybe you win your prop bets. But either way, have a great time. And until next time, we'll see you guys. Go Birds.